Hi, everyone. It's Lindsay Mellenbert here for your Daily BizLink. And today we have a special guest, Miss Jane Cebrynski. Thanks, Jane, for joining us today.
Good morning.
Uh,
What day is it? Happy Thursday. Oh.
Jane and I recently did a social distancing walk, which was a lot of fun. Highly encourage you guys to consider doing that. And during that time together, we were talking about, our definition of success and for significance, and really talking about who do we want to be during this time in quarantine and who do we want to be coming out of it. So Jane has some great advice that I'm so excited she's going to share with each and every one of you today.
Well, thank you, Lindsay, for having me. And of course, we have to start every time we spend together, every little mini workout with a 10 moment. So give me a 10 moment from this week for you.
Oh gosh, well, there's so many of them, but I think I started my day as a 10. So I set myself up for success each day by, following my own personal rituals and routines. I treated myself to a great cup of coffee. That's something that I really love. So I'll stick with that one.
And that's been a winning strategy for you forever. You love your morning coffee. And so it's really important that we do continue to anchor in those morning routines that really matter, because that kind of sets the day up for success. I loved our conversation because we are in obviously a really difficult time. And if we think about it in terms of sports, this is not really a winning season. But, how do we turn that around and make it a winning season for ourselves? And I get really excited about it and I smile, but I want to preface that by saying that I'm fully aware that we are in a season of grief and we are in a really, really, really difficult time. And my heart goes out to everybody, to the world and to those who are suffering from personal losses, whether it's the loss of a job or, a loss of a loved one. So even though I'm smiling and I get really excited about it, it isn't without thoughts for all of the struggles and the difficult times that we're going through. But, the thought and the question that came to me, and one of the tools that we always anchor in is defining what does success mean to us from a professional standpoint? How do we want to train to be professionally? And then for significance, how do we want to train in our personal lives? And then also that third dimension of, for service, how do we want to show up philanthropically? And during this season, I'm really encouraging my clients, and I've done the work myself to say, okay, who do I want to be coming out of this? And, I was sharing with you that I've come up with COVID entity, my COVID identity, but it's really an opportunity. We're in a season of rethinking, reinventing, refocusing. Maybe people are getting reacquainted with spouses and partners and families. It's really a time where we can sit with ourselves and really ask ourselves, who do I want to be coming out of this? What matters to me? What has changed for me? And really thinking about, okay, what are my actions to support that? And so I think that's what gets me really excited, is because we get to take this time and really think about what has shown up for us as winning strategies, what we have struggled with, what we're learning about ourselves, and really figure out, okay, coming out of this, what matters to me? Have you done any work around that? Have you thought about that at all? Because I think it's just, we think about it, but until we really write it down as almost our own personal mission statement for the season, how do we put it into action?
Yeah, I mean, I have been very mindful of having goals for each day, but I haven't necessarily been writing them down. So I think that idea or that concept is something that a lot of people should take into consideration, because if you write them down and you think through like the trends that you're seeing, maybe those are going to become new rituals or routines for you in the future. So I love that idea. That's a great tip.
Well, and the truth is when we take the time to write our definition of success, write the definition of significance. And again, we use different terminology because that challenges our brain. So success is how you show up professionally. For significance, it's how you show up personally. And then for service, how do you show up philanthropically? And I know for me personally, one of the things that's super important to me is I've just done a lot more service work. And I think one of the things I hear often in coaching my clients is that's the area, that's the dimension of our lives that we don't spend as much time on. But, the truth is when we give to others, especially when we're struggling ourselves, it can not only give us a lot of hope, but it literally produces chemicals in our body that can make us happy. And so I think that that is super important for well-being. And I know that for me, coming out of this, I want to make sure that my well-being is still intact, that I'm still mentally, physically, and emotionally, hopefully I'm stronger in those areas. So I've got mine written up on a flip chart behind me, and I walk by it every day. And I think it's just really important to think about it and then ask yourself the question, like, do my actions support that? Or what kind of actions do I want to take in order to do that? This season's going to go by quicker, I think, than we think, even though in the moment, sometimes the days might feel long. We're going to look at this time and go, wow, that kind of went by really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And just another plug too. I know you're talking about how you're giving back and that service aspect. So we are so fortunate, though, even though we're in quarantine, we still have the ability to get out and to help. And so you've been volunteering at St. Vincent de Paul, actually in their urban farm. Tell us a little bit more about that experience.
I have to give such a big plug. That was inspired. Of course, I love everybody over there, and I've done some work there in the past, but that was truly inspired by watching the news and seeing these super long lines I think it was in Pennsylvania. And they were lines to get to the food bank. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that's incredible. What could I do here? And so I called our good friend Hannah, who does business development, and she said, no, we're not allowed to do volunteering in the kitchen, but there's certainly help that can be out in the farm. And so I did that, and I've been doing it. That's been my ritual and routine, to go out there at least once a week. What's super cool about it is, number one, just being in nature and just going out there. And I planted cucumbers, I think, and peppers. And what I started to connect to is the fact that some of us, in a season of replanting, and so we're having to tend to the soil, which might be our beings, right? And we are having to, fertilize and replant some new seeds, and it's an opportunity for growth. So, as I sat there pulling weeds, which might not be the funnest job, but it's kind of therapeutic, gave me time to just kind of think and be in this moment. And they are currently in between harvests. So they've pulled everything, and now they're planting for the spring harvest or summer harvest. And so just knowing that I might make a small difference by helping feed our population that, is apt to grow through this crisis, and be a part of that, and also just spend time outdoors and, on the farm. I want to encourage everybody to go. And the job right now isn't super fun, I'm not going to lie, but it is super, super important, because those weeds can prevent the fruits and vegetables from growing to their full potential. And that's kind of how life is too. We have to pull the weeds of our life in order to grow to our full potential.
Isn't that so true? Jane, thank you again for joining us today. Once again, Jane Cebrynski of Patterson Sports Venture. Thank you again.
Thanks, Lindsay. Have a great day. Find those 10 moments.